Hey guys, I'm Monty Edwards.
And I'm Pierce Lancaster, and we'd like to welcome you to the Gun and Saddle podcast, the first episode. Pretty exciting. We're going to talk to y'all about hunting and fishing and Western lifestyle, recreation properties, some real estate. We're gonna get into a lot of stuff in this podcast, and we're really excited to get this started. And we hope that y'all stick around and keep listening to us.
Yeah, it's a really good podcast, I think, because it can be very well rounded.
Right.
One of the things I love about what we do is that we touch nearly every facet of the local economy, and one of the fastest growing areas, which is going to be a big point of focus for us, is the recreational properties.
Right.
So,
yeah, and we're both realtors. I'm an agent. He's my broker. We work with United Country Real Estate, MEdwardsRealty&Land. So with that recreational property, that partnership that United Country has with Realtree is really awesome. I think that we're really gonna expand on that with that recreational property becoming more and more popular in West Texas, throughout the entire state of Texas, but specifically here in West Texas, and I think we got some good things ahead of us.
Well, for sure, and I think one of the things that'll kind of get people to listen around here, I've got a lot of folks I know that are not interested necessarily in selling their land right now, but they're interested in the potential of what the recreational property could bring for another leg of revenue to the farm or to the ranch. As all you guys know, I mean, there's a lot of challenges out in front for agriculture and for ranching. Mm-hmm. There's a good relationship that can exist with, bringing in improvements on your property, which I think is interesting. I like Pierce kind of talk about this a little bit. Pierce has a good background with his educational background. Tell him a little bit about kind of where you went to school and what you know about that.
So yeah, I graduated from Texas Tech down the road in Lubbock with a degree in natural resource management with a concentration in wildlife biology. So in school we really got to learn a lot about habitat development, habitat management, restoration and conservation, things like that. And there's so many different avenues that you can take to achieve different, climax communities is what they call them. And so no matter what you're looking for. See, I'm a big bird hunter. You're a big deer hunter. If you want a property that has a lot of deer on it, there's certain things you can do to enhance that property naturally. We're not talking deer feeders. Of course, those are great. I love deer feeders, but there's other things you can do to plants and things like that to really enhance that property, increase its value. And if you want birds, if you want waterfowl, we just started duck season up here, if you want waterfowl, there's certain things you can do. There's, you can flood fields and other things like that to really attract birds to your property, increase its value in recreation.
Yeah, you and I were driving around just the other day. Of course, we've had an abnormally wet summer. It hadn't been a really wet year all year, but we had a really wet spell during the summer.
Yeah.
And because of that, we've got some pretty good crops in the field that guys are harvesting, but we also have a lot of playa lakes right now that have water.
Right, for now, yeah.
Yeah, and so this was a unique opportunity had somebody been ready for it. They could have really brought in some more revenue on their farms because, literally you've got guys that are paying by the day to come out and hunt the waterfowl. And the thing about the waterfowl, and the other thing I would say is one of the fastest growing areas of recreational hunting in our area the last few years has been the crane and geese.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really getting big. The flyways kind of changed a little bit. It seems like it's moved westward.
Moved west a little bit, yeah, with the introduction of crops and stuff out here, other than cotton. A lot of cranes, a lot of geese have been moving out west. There's, it seems like every day I look up, there's another outfitter in Lubbock popping up, getting people on the cranes, and they're all doing a great job.
Well, and that's one of the things, that's a good segue in to talk about, this is an inaugural episode, so we really are just trying to get people a good idea of what they can tune in for in the future. But one of the things that we hope to do is have like some of those outfitters occasionally step in, talk to us about what they're doing, how their programs work, kind of educate you guys on if you are interested. We will have contact information for those guys. And, we're going to try to be open, let guys that want the opportunity to come in and visit with you guys do that through this podcast. Another thing also with that is we're going to also be trying to get some of the guys like from the Texas Parks and Wildlife to sit in on some of our podcasts. Also through United Country and through Realtree, we've got some staff hunters that actually are Realtree staff hunters. We'd like to be bringing them in at some point. Just a lot of exciting things. There's all kinds of other areas that touch real estate too. I mean, we've been talking about the hunting, but another thing, kind of shift gears for a minute, talking about the ranching and farming aspect. Another one of our big brands with United Country is UC Ranch. Now, UC Ranch is kind of devoted to the higher value ranches, but United Country as a company is one of the largest farming ranches. I believe it is the largest farming ranch brokerage nationwide. We have about 5,000 agents and about 500 offices. And each one of those offices are like us. They're independently owned. And I was able to go to the convention this year. This is my first year in United Country. And, I was just really excited to see the culture of that company, to see that, it's a lot of folks all over the country that run offices a lot like ours, where there's a diverse agricultural backstop, there's recreational property. In other places, there's some tourism, ag tourism that's big. That's something that here is beginning to grow a little bit. But the neat thing is we're able to come together as a group, and we see things that are working in other parts of the country where people have kind of figured out the secret sauce. Right. How do you balance that recreational, the agricultural, and also the just the other specialty property group lifestyle things, and make them all kind of work together. So there's benefits for people. Even if you're not wanting to sell your land, we'd want you to still watch our podcast, because one of the things that we hope to do is even help you guys better your properties. The thing about it is, if we've got several folks, like for example in the MLD program, which is for the mule deer, Lamb County is fortunate that we've got several large landowners that are part of that program. And because of that, they do some advanced management. They also basically have some pretty large areas that are set aside, and they do hunt by permit, but they almost function as a wildlife preserve almost in a way, because they're doing all the things right. And I know these native ranges out here with the deer. I say native, but the areas where they like to really hang out, and those MLD areas are essential to keeping our deer herds successful. So,
we need to bring somebody on and talk about that sometime.
Well, and that's one of the things that I hope to get the ag biologist, not the ag, but the wildlife biologist with out of Lubbock to talk to folks, because you may be a large landowner that hasn't looked into that. But I can tell you one thing right off the bat: you get your land certified for MLD, you've increased the value of your land.
Oh, absolutely.
So, another thing that I want to talk about just a little bit as we're talking about this is the mule deer hunting in West Texas. Some of you guys may have got a survey over the last few months from the Texas Parks and Wildlife. I would encourage you to, I don't know if we've passed the deadline for that. I should have checked on that before we came online. But if we haven't, look at your survey. If you haven't filled it out, get that thing sent in, because they're considering making some changes to our mule deer season. One of the things that they're talking about is implementing a longer season in this part of the state. Part of our area that we service is off the Cap and down in the Rolling Plains. And down in that area, they've had a 3-weekend mule deer season for a long time.
Wow.
And they implemented down there a couple of years ago, I believe, some antler restrictions.
Yes.
So that's what they're talking about doing here. In other words, there's going to be a little bit of a give and take.
Yes. There is, I think, and I might be wrong on this, I think, is there new antler restrictions this year?
I don't believe we have them
certain counties.
In certain counties there are. In this area, right around our home office area, around Lamb County, Bailey County, I don't believe so. Check your
outdoor annual.
But I don't believe that we do. But I will say the thing that they're talking about is, they're trying to get some emphasis on harvesting more mature bucks.
Right.
They're also talking. I've heard talks in the winds. Haven't heard this directly from Texas Parks and Wildlife, but the potential for a possible doe season or a possible doe tag that they might consider putting into the mix. One thing landowners don't realize, though, is if you own acreage and you've got deer population there, you can apply for doe permits. Mm-hmm. And there's guys that do that up here, but there's not a lot of folks that are even aware that you can. So another reason, if we get Todd on here, the wildlife biologist, Todd, I'm going to butcher his last name, but I think it's Montadon. If we get Todd on here, it'd be great to let him help talk about that. And so another thing I'd like to tell you in the comments area of our videos as we post them on YouTube and Facebook. Also, if you're watching them on YouTube and Facebook, be sure you subscribe to our page so you'll get notifications when we post a new video. If you're on Facebook, like and follow our page. But also feel free to get involved in this and comment while we're live. This episode here, we didn't shoot live, but we're going to do that in the future where we will be live. The cool thing about that is we'll have someone watching the comments if you've got a question while we have folks on the show. We'd love for you to come up and ask questions so we can get those answered.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about what we got going on next week.
Yeah, we've got something we're really excited about next week. I mentioned earlier the Realtree Pro Staff Hunters, or not Pro Staff, but Realtree guys. And one of the ones that's really been influential in getting the partnership going with Realtree and United Country a few years ago is a guy named Slade Priest. Slade, last year, I was at the convention, he was the second highest volume realtor in the country. Yeah, and I'm amazed by that because Slade's usually sitting in a deer blind, but he's leaving a deer blind to go show a property to go do a podcast. He's got a podcast called The Hunting Landman if you want to check it out. It's really good. It's down in Mississippi. But Slade and his crew are going to be coming up next week, and we're going to be filming a mule deer episode on United or Hunt United, which is one of Realtree 365's shows that they do in conjunction with United Country, and it features. Sometimes it'll feature listed properties, but what we really do is we try to hunt in the areas where we list properties. Right. Yeah. It's really hard sometimes to time all that where you have a listed property to hunt. But in this case, we're not going to be hunting a listed property, but we're going to be hunting one right in the middle of the area where we sell land. And it's going to be a really cool thing because, a lot of people get to see something that's really different than a lot of other kinds of hunting, and that's hunting these western mule deer.
It's a super neat place. We went out there and checked it out. What was that, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks
it's been about 2 weeks. We went out there and checked it out. Man, it's awesome. It's going to be a cool show.
Yeah, I'm unless we get some kind of a catastrophic weather event in here during that time span, I really look for those guys to have a successful hunt. Of course, that's always an unknown.
Yeah,
it's part of the country.
It's still
year.
Hunting. Yeah.
And the thing about this is the neat thing is these guys that are letting us come hunt on this deal. They do a deal where they've been donating a couple of hunts, which I think is really cool. They donate them, I think, to WT University. I don't know which department up there, but I don't know that they'll do that again next year. The owner acted like they might. So one thing that's kind of cool for people that will watch the episode is you could go and actually have a chance to bid on those hunts. Yeah. And that's a cool thing for us because we think helping them get exposure.
Absolutely.
It'd be really cool to help that be a better deal when, for them to get the maximum value out of donating those hunts. So, one thing we want to talk about, you were out there with me. What did you think about the amount of cover that we've got out in the field right now?
There's a lot of it. I'll tell you that right now. The most challenging thing, I think, for these guys coming in or anybody that's going to be hunting that area is there's a lot of cover. Yeah. It's going to be hard to see them deer coming in. Now, if you've got a feeder set up, anything that's, a clearing or opening, or if you have a, wildlife paths that can go through, that's probably going to be your best bet. If they're bedded down in that cover, you're going to have a tough time seeing them because it's probably about average, at least 5 foot tall.
Yeah, and you don't realize a deer looks tall when you see pictures of them. But they're really not that tall when they're on their feet. And we were out there the other day. I went back one more time out on this place that we're going to hunt, and we actually saw a really nice 10 point off in some cover, and we thought he was bedded. He was actually standing up.
Yeah.
We could just barely see the top of his head. These wild sunflowers that we've got in this area, which the deer love to great browse on, they have just gotten phenomenally big. And I talked to a hunter that has been hunting in New Mexico, and they've already opened their season, and he was telling me it was some tough hunting.
Yeah.
He's a seasoned hunter, and he'd been hunting for years, and he said, unbelievable good deer out there this year, but it's going to separate the men from the boys this year. I think patterning deer is going to be extremely important this year. If you've got a food source, a water source, you understand where those deer are traveling during the day. One of the unique things about mule deer hunting, if you haven't done it, is unlike whitetail, mule deer are not as easy to pattern with a feeder. Guys do use feeders here, and there's definitely deer that will come consistently, but typically the does are a lot more consistent with that. The other challenge is that we typically are not hunting our mule deer during the mule deer rut. A lot of times if you can bring the does in on whitetail with feeders, once that rut cranks up, you're going to get bucks checking out the feeders, patrolling the feeders. And another little interesting wrinkle on that here in this part of the world is we've got a whitetail season now.
Yeah.
And that's not something that we've had for very long. And the whitetail are actually almost, I don't want to use this term negatively, but they're almost like an invasive species.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have them. But as we've had more of this land in CRP and we've had A lot of guys growing more forage crops and stuff. We're seeing the whitetail move in. There's a specific area right here in Lamb County where there's quite a few whitetail.
Yeah.
And those can come in. We have a whitetail season that is the full length of the season. But I've had a camera up this year, and I actually posted a video where I had a mule deer and a whitetail buck, 2 young bucks fighting.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. That was a cool picture. Y'all should go check that out on the Facebook page.
I don't know all the mechanics of it, but I have heard, and if any of you guys want to weigh in on this, but I have heard that typically the whitetail are actually the ones that are more aggressive. I think part of that is because they go into rut earlier.
Yeah, they do.
They're rutting and they're a little more bullish, and they're going to come in, and that's exactly this little whitetail buck. I mean, he piled off into this mule deer buck, and I had several pictures of it, and they did it multiple days. They were at the same thing. Yeah, they came back 2 days later and did the same thing again. So they're staking their territory. I thought it was kind of interesting. The mule deer was acting a little bit pre-rutty, kind of coming in. So that's interesting. As far as finishing up talking about the season, I think it's got a lot of promise. I think for the guys that really have a setup, that know where they're going to go and have a food source, I think they've got some chance this year to harvest some really nice deer. Had a great summer, growing a lot of groceries for those deer. Last year was extremely different than this year. Last year, you could see everything. Our pastures were completely, low. I mean, we didn't have good pasture last year. We grazed everything down. It had been dry. It was easy to hunt last year if you had a food source, and if you had a good set of binoculars, you could spot deer. It's going to be a little tougher. Overall, though, I think it's an optimistic outlook for this season. I think it's fun when it's hard. That's why it's called hunting.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Pierce, one other thing before we wrap up. We're going to be this week, too, another exciting thing that we're doing, and this probably is over more on the UC Ranch side.
Right,
but one of the cool things when I got in with United Country that I was really interested in is our specialty property groups around equine. And this week on Friday and Saturday, we'll be back over at the Mallet Event Center in Levelland for the Clovis Horse Sale. And they're going to have their futurity event this year, this time. And, they do that on Friday, and then the sale will be on Saturday. I've been just shocked at the number of people that come into that sale from all over the United States.
Yeah, I feel like there's more people from other states than there are from Texas.
There are. And in this sale in particular, I visited with the auctioneer, Steve Friskup, and he indicated he thought it was going to be a really good sale. They've had a lot of good horses they've been posting online if you follow them on social media. We're excited about that. We're going to have a booth out there. And we've been auctioning, I haven't confirmed this for sure, but we have been auctioning off a Gordy Alderson bid. And all you have to do to show up is come and sign up. We also give away a couple other prizes there, but we'll also have horse properties that we've got listed from all over the country. We'll have those featured at that booth. So please come by if you got a chance. It's a great time to take the family out, and that's a neat event. I don't think if people go, even if you're not going to buy a horse.
Yeah, it's a cool place.
And if you just want to get a little feel for the Western culture that's here, if you're not part of that, or if you are a part of that in the past and just want to kind of get back around that is a really cool place to go.
Yeah, last couple of times they had pretty good food too.
Yeah, they do have some good food. And they have the trade show too. I mean, not really a trade show, but they have trade area where they have all the booths, and they do have a lot of different things there. Hats, spurs, have a lot of different things where just tons of different stuff. Really, every time we go, there's some additional stuff set up. So I'd encourage you to go to that. That's starts. I don't remember the exact start time. Things will start happening around there most days around 9. Until late afternoon. Yeah. So come out, check that out. We'll be glad to see you there. Again, we're going to have that hunt show coming up. We're really excited about that. I don't know. It'll take a few weeks after they film it to get it out and put it out there, but we'll be sure and make a big deal of that. Hopefully, before we do that, we'll be able to get Slade in and let him talk a little bit about the hunt. I think that'd be really cool. And he's bringing out another hunter with him, so we'll get those guys on here. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Not this time. I'm excited for this to get going. How often are we going to do this?
Well, I think it's really going to depend on kind of the interaction we have with the people. I hope we can at least do it once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But if we can find more subject matter to cover, and if we've got some suggestions from our audience on things we can bring in, we want to know from you what you'd like to know about. If we can get some different folks in, we've not even tipped the iceberg about talking about all the different things we could bring in around agriculture and recreational properties and horses. It'd be cool to get Steve in here one week, talk about the horse sale and the horse deal, just the equine industry in general. But if you've got some ideas like that, just give us give us a comment down there or send us an email. We'll put an info at MEdwards Realty email address. That is the email address, by the way. If you want to send us a suggestion, please feel free to do that. So wrap it up, and I guess we'll call it good.
Yeah, guys. Hey, thanks for watching the video. We're, like I said earlier, we're excited to get this thing started. We hope that y'all enjoyed it. And we'll see y'all down the road.
Thank you, guys.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this video. If you're watching it on YouTube, please be sure to like and share the video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's one of the best ways that you can stay up to date on new listings and new activities that are going on with Edwards Realty and Land.
And if you're watching this video on Facebook, be sure to like and share the video, as well as like and follow our page.
Thank you guys.